Hello there fellow humans and welcome to this video, and today we're gonna go through every single tier 10 tank except the Super Conqueror and look at them and see if they're balanced, do they need adjustments, do they need nerfs, do they need buffs, let's see. But first of all I have to say that Wargaming is unlikely to nerf tanks, because what happens if they nerf something is that the players that own it are gonna be quite mad. So what they instead do is they buff the bad tanks, because then the owners of the bad tanks are happy because they get buffed. And the owners of the good tank are still happy because their tank didn't get nerfed into the ground. So buffs are far more likely to happen than any nerfs. And if there is some nerfs, it's probably most likely going to be engine power or accuracy or stuff like that. That doesn't really matter too much. So yeah, expect more buffs than nerfs, always. With that, let's go through the tech tree, and you know, another YouTuber already did this. That shall be unnamed, and let's just say I'm never ever gonna get those 26 minutes of my life back. So let's do it faster and better. Still, this is still my opinion. I'll try to be as impartial as possible, but anyway. Projector 65, perfectly fine. Kronvang, give it 20 more alpha damage, and then it's perfectly fine. And maybe remove the speed consumable, give it 5 kilometers more speed. That does it. It's a good tank, but it needs some adjustments. Force 155. It's unique, sort of, with the 560 alpha damage. It has a great auto-loading gun. It's perfectly fine. I wouldn't change anything about it. Maybe make this gun more competitive by giving it more alpha damage, but other than that, doesn't really matter. 50B is perfectly fine. The Batchat also needs more alpha damage. It only has 310. With the TVP coming into the game, it's going to be absolutely useless, because the TVP is going to have 4 shots, and the Batchat only has 3, so give this thing more alpha damage, or it will be absolutely useless. Then, China. They're copies of the Russian tanks, therefore all 3 of them are good. They don't have gun depression, but they have high alpha damage and high DPM, which is quite nice. The 113 turns like a battleship, but it's perfectly balanced. Onwards. Anyway, then the Hori is the first of what I call a clown tank. It's sort of a tank that's purposefully outside of the meta, just to diversify the pool of tanks, because if every tank is the same, then the game's just going to be boring, and most of those clown tanks, they're not supposed to be good. They're supposed to fill up a sort of niche in the game that isn't occupied by anything else. And the Hori is a pretty good vehicle, however. Solid DPMs, pretty good damage. It has the bonus of higher premium damage, just like the Foch, and it has great penetration, so it's a solid vehicle. Then the SDB-1, pretty much the best medium tank in the game, together with the E50M. There's nothing bad about it. And it's probably not going to be nerfed. So, nothing's going to happen. Then, the British are the nation of the clowns. Now, no offense to all my British viewers, but the British tanks are the nation of the clowns, I mean, not you. Anyway, the 183 clown tank, it's about average damage only, because you have 960 alpha damage on the AP, 1300 AHE. You don't have mobility, you don't have accuracy, you don't have armor. It's a clown tank. It doesn't matter. It's not supposed to be good, because if it would be good, the game wouldn't be fun. Then the FE4005, kind of same thing. It has a gun that's designed for close range with a hull that's designed for long range, but it's balanced. It's an okay vehicle. Then the FE4202, another clown tank. There's a lot of tier 10 mediums, obviously, and if all of them are the exact same, it would be boring. Now, this one has the speciality of the Hesh, so if you know how to use the Hesh well, if you know how to use the vehicle well, you're gonna do quite well at it. It's pretty mobile, so you're gonna get around quite well. What I would maybe do is like buff the upper part of the turret a little bit to make it more sturdy, but other than that, I don't think it needs any changes. It's a driver man's tank. It needs a lot of love and a lot of care to be played well. Then the Vickers Light, well, it's a medium tank. Done. The FE205B, really great vehicle. It can do anything except have the turret at the front. It's a great vehicle. It's insanely accurate. It's insanely mobile. It can turn quickly. It's a great tank. Just nothing. There's nothing bad about this vehicle at all, except the back turret. Yeah, everyone that tells you the FE205B is bad, listen to them, because then I can play it and absolutely shit on you. But yeah, that's my thing. Anyway, 205B is great. It's also pretty great. Object 268, it's Russian, obviously it's good. Then we have the 263, it's a clown tank. What can be done to buff it? Obviously, the gun mantlet and also the engine deck, because if you buff the gun mantlet, everyone's just gonna shoot into the engine deck, so you have to buff both if you want to do something about it. Other than that, it has insane DPM, and that's kind of what it's about. It's just about pumping out shots. It has 7 degrees of gun depression, which is okay. Other than that, it's just a clown tank that just fills in a niche of tank destroyer that isn't really that present in the game. Unless they would introduce the Foch B, which they won't. Then there is the Object 140, which is really left behind. The T62A is more accurate, has better gun, has better mobility, has better armor, basically. So, two things they could do this vehicle. Either they could make this one the mobility monster and give it like 60 kilometers an hour and just have it dart around the battlefield. Or you could just buff the gun, give it more penetration, give it more accuracy, just make it stand out in that regard a lot more. Because the 62A is just better than everything. There's nothing bad about this tank. It has 70 degrees of gun depression, it has insane dispersion. It's just good. And they're probably not going to nerf it, obviously. I don't know why they buffed it, but they're probably not going to nerf it. Maybe they're going to nerf the dispersion a bit or the gun depression, but it's not going to really ever be again that the Object 140 is the dominant T10 medium. I don't think that era is ever going to come back. Also, another era that's never going to come back is the dominance of the IS-7, because this tank is also quite bad. Well, everything has better armor, everything is more mobile, and everything has a better gun. Two things to do. If they introduce the Object 277, the IS-7 is obsolete anyway. If they don't introduce the Object 277, give it better mobility, give it better dispersion, give it better aim time, and give it a little bit more DPM. Then it can work out quite good again, like average speed of 40, for example. And a DPM of like 2,600, 2,700, somewhere in that regard. And a dispersion of 0.34. That's what I would do to make it more competitive again. Then the IS-4, which is like sort of the counterpart to the IS-7, while the IS-7 is like would be the mobile monster. This would be the heavy stoppage tank. It has a pretty horrible gun. It has insane penetration, so you can penetrate everything. But the mobility is also not that good. The mobility is okay, but well, compared to the IS-7, this is just miles better. And what I would do to balance this tank, nerf this plate and nerf this plate by around 30 millimeters, and then you're good, basically. Effective 30 millimeters, not actual 30 millimeters. Anyway, then we go to the Germans, and we have the Grill 15, which is a very great tank, great DPM, great mobility. I mostly play it like a light tank because I can. I wouldn't actually suggest you do that as well. It's sort of like a backline sniper. It doesn't really have the best camera rating while firing, but other than that, if you don't shoot, you're pretty much invisible, as you can see right here. Now, it's a great tank, no balance needed. The Aegru, it's a clown tank. It doesn't really matter. Like, what would happen if they buff the armor? It's gonna be overpowered. If they don't buff the armor, like it is now, it's useless. Please keep it useless. Thank you. Then the VK-72 is also useless. It doesn't have a good gun. It doesn't have good mobility. It doesn't have good armor. This is a weak spot. To balance it, you'd have to buff this plate massively. But I don't know. Who cares? It's a VK. Then we have the Mouse. It's in a good spot where it is right now. It's sort of this like even heavier stopping tank than the IS-4 with an even worse gun. And to play this well, you have to know what you're doing, because you have to angle the plates. Obviously, if you stand out front like an idiot like this, everyone can even penetrate the upper plate, but if you angle it properly, it's going to be a menace on the battlefield. Then the E100, pretty good tank, keep it as it is. It's fine. E50M, it's good at anything. It's just good at everything. It's fine. Then the Leopard, it's also good at everything except armor, which makes it a great vehicle for good players and a horrible vehicle for bad players. And there's nothing really to be done about that, so just keep it. Then we go to the Americans, T124. Give it the E5 treatment, remove the cupola, and it's fine. Everything else, that's cool. E3, nerf the speed, make the average from like 24 go to like 22 or 21. Then we're good. E5, good at everything. Keep it. Then the M48 Patton, it's in a weird spot, because if you buff the mobility, you could play the STB-1. If you buff the armor, you can play the E50M. So it's kind of a weird middle vehicle, which is not really that mobile, not really that well armored. But I mean, it's fine. It's another one of those sort of clown tanks that fit in quite well in the game. Just like the FV205B is sort of a clown tank because of a turret at the back and stuff like that. But it's just great. The FV205B is great, and same with the Patton. It sort of doesn't really fit in, but it can work out really well when you know what you're doing. Then the 57 Heavy, yeah, it's just in the shadow of the 50B the entire time. What would you have to do it to get it out of that shadow? Well, either you buff the turret, like you buff up this armor massively, or you also reduce the entry clip reload to 2 seconds, basically. Then the Sheridan, just remove the fucking rockets. Nothing else to be said. And then let's go through the collectors super quick. Most of those tanks are just copies of Tech 3 tanks, so it's gonna be pretty easy. The VK is a better mouse. None of these tanks are gonna be nerfed. Good, solid, shit. It is a Chieftain Mark 6 with an E5 gun, which is bad. So this is basically like the worst of the Chieftain, which is bad armor, and the worst of the E5, the DPM, combined in one tank, which makes it bad. This one certainly needs a few buffs here and there to make it as competitive as the Chieftain and the E5. But other than that, another sort of clown tank. Anyway, T22 medium, it's fine. It's not too overpowered, it's not too bad. Certainly don't buff it, but it's probably also not going to be nerfed. It has this boat-shaped hull, which makes it great, but other than that, it's pretty much a Soviet meter tank. Then we have the Badger, which is just worse than the E3 in basically everything, and that's good. Because if the Badger would have the insane DPM it would have in World of Tanks PC, it would just rip apart everything. So, I mean, I don't know, it's not really a good collector, but just keep it where it is. It's sort of fine. Then 121B, sort of middle thing between the 62A and the 121, pretty solid. Keep it there. 111, 5A, same problem as the RS7. It's not really good. Buff the DPM to like 3000, then it would be competitive. MX30B, clown tank. If you buff the turret armor, if you remove the collar, you have an STB1, but now at the moment you sort of have a skilled band's STB in a way. It requires a lot more skill to play than the STB1, so I don't know. Maybe remove the cupola and that's it, but other than that, there's not really much to be done about that. And yeah, that's the end of the video. Hope you liked it, and if you disagree on any of the tanks, then put it in the comments. And if you liked the video, just like and subscribe and all that kind of stuff. And thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.